Hi, I am Kristina Frost vs. General Motors, editing my book, which began with the hypothesis of what happens if you try. Despite going through hell twice in one night, my Buick exploding, taking my children, my skin, General Motors getting away with murder, and taking off to Detroit to tell my story after we were thrown out in court, in state and federal court. Calling out my malpractice lawyers and changing my life, taking dance lessons and becoming a dance instructor. Having everything I ever asked for. Having everything taken away, and then had tried hard, wrote it all down. Some things you can't, some people, some children, you can never, I don't know, anything but trying, you will have results, and moving towards something, it will move towards you, and build it, they will come. I've seen it work, so I don't know how to publish a book, but I've written one in the last 4 years. I'm going back to edit it and follow the process. So my YouTube is a testimony of that journey of being a mad woman in Detroit and eventually losing my lawyers on the solar eclipse, and the next solar eclipse finding good lawyers and changing my life, and really putting this court system to the test after studying admiralty, maritime law, and becoming a crazy woman and seeing if this process was true at all. We're going to find out. So in my book, and I have a written book full of what I call the tools of integrity. Originally, my book was called The Application of Integrity. Now I call Looking for Signs, that I had followed what I had studied in the Bible and astrology, and these things would happen on the solar eclipses, new moons, conjunctions, retrogrades, what have you. So I wrote it all down, and I also have what I call tools of integrity. Things like, or characteristics like having honesty, humbleness. There is also too a side of learning about life and what people are capable of. Learning not to wear your heart on your sleeve. That's not for everybody. But I had a note I wanted to add, written down, and I'm always writing notes all the time that help me progress on this journey, which I hope is an integration of the mind and the physical world, the subjective and objective result, the intangible and the tangible, the involution and evolution of all things, everything that I've studied, putting it into practice, and I've created what I wanted. So one of my notes today is about perfectionism, which I am a huge perfectionist. And my notes here say perfectionism, and what I wanted to add as a chapter here, or a note, is perfectionism is the greatest or the most beautiful of prisons. Perfectionism. So I'm going to call this perfectionism the most beautiful of prisons. It's just fear, weakness, and not about quality, a facade, an unconscious strategy, not a virtue, almost virtuous, a relentless pursuit, a sophisticated mechanism of self-sabotage. I do want to write that down. A sophisticated mechanism of self-sabotage. Because I forever would not start editing my book or speaking doing any kind of videos, which I've been working out for 4 years and built this self-confidence through discipline, through consistency, that I could be such a person that you find on Instagram or TikTok. So an unconscious strategy, which will rule your fate until it becomes conscious, right? Anything unconscious, because the mind is powerful and creates everything around us. So unconscious strategy, I would say, that rules fate until it becomes in our awareness and self-control. Maybe I'll put that came to mind. And self-control, or the opposite, because perfectionism really is self-control. A very limiting self-control, awareness, and awareness in self-control. We'll save that for the editor, right? And I do have students that have told me about editors they have. I have peers on my dance team that have told me they have editors for me. So following through, I think, is my job in creating something that's readable for an editor. It makes sense. Painful revelation. I could have done so much more, so much earlier. Let's say the result is a painful revelation. I could have done so much more. Could have done so much more, so much earlier. Because we also learn from our mistakes. Pain to embrace one's own power. Pain to, or it is a pain. Let's say it is a pain to embrace one's own power, such as this, getting out of your comfort zone, sharing things of yourself that who knows if anyone's ever going to care. Acceptable justification, or procrastination, I would say. Acceptable justification. And it says a fear, or equals fear. Justification of fear and procrastination, I would say. Right here. Oh, I jumped. Procrastination. Reacted in real time. So, I'm also going to put here what we said, not a virtue, almost a virtue. And because if I thought of myself right now being a perfectionist doing any of this, my vision would never come true. And isn't that the most important thing, is our own vision? Almost virtuous. Almost virtuous. I think I've spelled it different every time I've spelled it. Almost virtuous. What was I going to say? Relentless pursuit. I should say a relentless, endless pursuit, as you wouldn't get anything done. So I'm going to save my note here at the bottom, and we're going to go back up to what should be now chapter 17. I went over my last chapter in the last video, and by that I mean I had skipped a little bit of venting, but we're starting on chapter 17, and we had gone through up till chapter 15. Chapter 16 is a little bit of venting, I can tell. I'm going to go through. But we have a title here that says, got something out of it, didn't know what it was going to be, but it was good. And this is me back in Detroit 3 years ago. I don't think I had moved into the apartment in Detroit yet. I was making money trimming with an old group, and in my last chapter, we had a falling out, and I was paying rent down there and up here. I had a young friend that I was taking care of, bit off way more than I could chew, had to figure out my next move. So let's see what happened here. And like I said, I changed my life, but we had no idea how this was going to happen at this time. So it's quite crazy going back to see it over. And my goal is to go 45 minutes. We're a little over 10. So we'll see if I can get to my time here today. I knew if I was 10,000 down this year, I mean over the span of a year, I at least got this kid on his feet and set him up for the rest of his life. We're going into the chapter now, if you can tell. Nobody likes me calling him a kid, but I have to remind him that him and myself have our whole lives ahead of us, that we are to be the best versions of ourselves before we can even think of dating another person. And there is a lot of peace that comes with that. Earlier this summer, I had to teach my new roommate, David, a hard lesson. We came up to Michigan to make money after I told Hungry Howie's manager down south I didn't want to be on a schedule with a cherry-picking delivery driver. I had a delivery coming up for $10. I was excited about this tip, and this guy took it in front of me, and I was like, dude. Among other things, that dude's family that worked there even scammed me on some cannabis that I went beating their door down in a sketchier neighborhood than 8 Mile and State Fair. I know because I stayed on 8 Mile and State Fair for a month this summer. So we left to Michigan to make money trimming with my friends, as I have been doing for the last 3 or 4 years now. The kid, David walked out on a trim job. He couldn't stand the fakeness of these women, and I totally get it now. But we were in survival mode then, but he didn't know what survival mode meant as a parent. He was just going to bop around and be fine. So after I drove to snatch him up from walking down the road after he walked out of his trim job, smelling like cannabis, walking down the road, trying to ask for a ride, I about knocked this kid out. Instead, I stayed quiet, and the next day I snapped my fingers and said, okay, get your things. I'm dropping you off at your friend Aaron's. He said, he's not answering the phone. So I said, call your other friend Paul. I can't take care of you anymore. I've told him we were not ride or die, and I'm not his mother. After about 5 days, his friends reached out to me saying he needed me, that he had nowhere to go. And my degenerate best friend of 10 years wouldn't take him back, who I ended up having this trim job with. I had just lost my children, so I said, oh, I'll take, my friend David, who's younger than me. I have about 10 years on this kid. I said, I could use some help. I could use a roommate. Needed to make money, blah, blah, blah. Bit off way more than I could chew. Kid didn't understand. He was living with people. So his mom was a drug addict, loser, whatever. And he had been kicked out of his house since 17. So he didn't have nobody but me, still doesn't have anyone but me. So pray for that kid. Please, for the love of God, pray for him. So I told the kid, David to get on my computer in front of me and look up jobs. David struggled in school. I can see his struggles in math and reading. He was pushed along by teachers and wasn't given the attention needed early on to develop in skills. Luckily, Spirit put him with me, who wants to be a teacher. So I helped him in every process. What address should you put on the application? What days I can drive him? I knew I had to set him up before I ran out of money and to get myself back home. So I hadn't moved to Detroit yet. This is me trying to figure out life. We were at Hungry Howie's in North Carolina. I took the kid home to North Carolina. We came back up to Detroit trying to make money. This is all after COVID and stuff. So everything was crazy. I was before working for the Carolina Panthers and just got my job with Arthur Murray Dance Studio in Charlotte, North Carolina, before COVID shut everything down. I took off to Detroit, trimming, went back down there. Came back to Detroit, trimming. Was a crazy life. So David was even excited about making money, and at one point said I could see myself being a chef cooking at a steakhouse in Detroit. I was very proud of his attitude. He was starting to get it. The grinding is a good thing. I always tell him he can make music and do whatever hobby you want to if you're making money to start it and provide for it. So he's a rapper. I have in parentheses. So he did as I asked. He had 3 interviews for the first week, and by the next week he had started at Texas de Brazil, downtown Detroit, which is a huge steakhouse in Detroit. He went in as a dishwasher. I told him he was front of house material, long hair, big eyes, good smile. The kid was going to be front of house. Instead of starting as a dishwasher, he started as a busboy, bussing tables at the front of the restaurant. Within 2 weeks, he was a carver, running out meats for the restaurant on a knife as a meat cowboy. So on a knife. So they had these big knives, and he was a meat cowboy. I should put like I should say a sword knife as a meat cowboy. I'm gonna put a sword knife, I'm gonna put comma, as a meat cowboy. I had just stopped eating meat, but the lobster bisque is good. Which I'm not a vegetarian anymore, only because I didn't get the protein and I didn't have the cooking skills to support being a vegetarian. And my workout schedule and dancing and everything else. So, next chapter, or at least this is in bold. Let's see. I changed this kid's life and nobody but me could. 6 months later, I'm writing this with so much pride. So I'm going to call this another chapter. We're going to call this chapter 18. I changed this kid's life and nobody but me could. 6 months later, I'm writing this with so much pride that I changed this kid's life. I sacrificed just being 10 grand under and the security of my single wide trailer. I'm gonna put 10 grand down. And the security of my single wide trailer in North Carolina to be roommates and save this kid's life. Around the new moon in Gemini, David is a Gemini sun, he started this job around his birthday. Now we are about to experience the full moon in Gemini 6 months later. David is training to be head chef and is now a chef in the kitchen. I repeat, he is training to be a head chef at the most successful steakhouse in Detroit. He did that. That was his choice. I just allowed him the opportunity. How amazing, how amazing. I think if I start dance lessons at the Detroit Dance Loft, I may get an opportunity to teach dance later again as well. Side note, which I did end up taking dance lessons for 2 years at Detroit Dance Loft and being on their teams and performing. You can see on my YouTube. The kid may be looking at a salary and more money than I've made in 10 years. I'm so proud. I love our home. We manifested the apartments we wanted with a gym, pool, rooftop, laundry, and balcony. We got approved after being denied and my red flags coming up from an old electric bill or something I had to pay off. And I only had so much means from Trimmin to make all this happen after having a falling out, paying 2 different rents, staying in Airbnbs, living out of the car, and motels and everything else, which is all in the book. You can see. Now we know what to do to get his license whenever he is ready. Oh, and he did. We are 1 mile from his work downtown Detroit. Is the sister of the Renaissance Apartments of the General Motors building, 1 mile away. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. So I'm just down from Jefferson in this apartment, looking straight at the GM building. And now I'm all the way down Jefferson. So I went and I bought a home. Jordan Peterson reminds us that we need so little encouragement. I work hard to make sure this kid is ready for his day. To keep your bounce today, the pressure of a kitchen is not easy, so I remind him that we can't do any more than we can do. Mistakes are going to happen, and that is okay. Just communicate. He has kept a great attitude taking on the day. Now working noon to close, 5 days a week. I'm so proud. I couldn't work right now like that. I would go nuts. As for me, I'm not sure what to do next for work. I've set up my new office to begin teaching what I think I know, but I get back to reading my books and I feel even less articulate. I have to learn to present my information more like a teacher with resources. More like a teacher with resources than a YouTube video talking as if I know everything. I don't like that. I would like to use my Zumba certification and go to salsa and bachata lessons. Now I'm sick of being ridiculed for my dedication for my health. I am in pain all day. My legs do not feel as if they did without being scraped off and stapled back on, with my back and my ass, I should add, with my back skinned alive. No big deal. But I have to keep moving. That's not a choice. And I live with my pain the best I can, and I will destroy my reputation. I will destroy the reputations of the law firms and attorneys who dare question my integrity for life and my children and my future children, whom I will return to me. So, and I'm speaking this way because I had a lot of ridicule from people saying I shouldn't be able to do the things that I was doing. Even my own lawyers told me not to speak about what I was doing in Detroit and trying to take dance lessons and going to the gym, and I was protesting all the time for crazy stuff. I was leaving cards in people's cars, like on their cars, like Kristina Frost versus General Motors, Leslie Kim Smith denies, wrongful death and everything. And so I was crazy, but for now, I think David might get me a job. Haha, karma is so sweet. Trust God, the universe, the one, when he, it, us says no. I have in bold here. Interesting. Interactions with their only human father. Epitome of nihilism and narcissism, not knowingly by choice, but by habitual subconscious programming by 40 years old. Two different monsters. Why I keep fighting to prove it to myself. My children are alive. What is the purpose? I want to know, and I'm going to find out. And by this, I mean alive, I mean spiritually. Why I'm writing this book on this day now, October 22nd, 2021, Aries full moon last night. I wouldn't be surprised to see this book manifest with the influence of Aries in the sky. Interesting. I'm curious. I love when I make predictions like that because I'd be danged if it don't come true. Suffering is an integral part of existence. I would also say too, with the Aries full moon, I have Virgo second house with writing, book publishing, things like that. Interesting. Anyway, suffering is an integral part of existence. Jordan Peterson. I also heard him say, taking on your suffering with grace is noble. So, kind of cool. Success is not a magic trick. You just need to apply the principles of success. Discipline is the spiral upward. Jordan Peterson. Execution is worship. Les Brown. Worth the risk. Betting on yourself. Here we go. Let's call this, we had a couple notes there. I want to call this chapter, were we on 18, 19? We'll go over the numbers later. I bet on myself all summer. Finally, I took off from a pizza driving job to support a 21-year-old orphan for a job trimming cannabis in Michigan. When my lifelong friend said, Chrissy, you can't ask to buy cannabis, apparently not considering my skin grafts or PTSD from my children burning alive, or the fact, or that I took her responsibility on, ability of a 21-year-old child, I decided to bet on myself. That I was correct, not causing any harm to anyone. I said, F you. After lying to me about having work behind my back, they wouldn't tell me they were working, and I really needed the money, taking care of this kid, trying to pay rent, and being up in Detroit, left my trailer in North Carolina. While it took my friend's responsibility of adopting this orphan, teaching him the ways of endurance and how to survive while hardly surviving ourselves, staying on 8 Mile, spending all my savings on B&Bs and motels because my friends promised me that I would be okay. I'm part of the crew, part of the family, right? Your friends will never say, you'll be fine. That's my note here in bold. Your friends will never say, you'll be fine. Why would they say that? When they say, I'm here for you, we're going to figure this out together or something like that. But apparently I didn't like this. The friends that think you have enough as it is, them that think you make enough money, your struggles aren't that compared to theirs. Those mother effers, low caste Christians are not your effing friends. They are subconscious. Now, you can't lump in all Christians. I say low caste Christians because they're not helionostic Christians or sun knowers or knowing that the Bible is all symbolic of the sun's path along the ecliptic, living every day in our lives, giving us signs of God, are not your friends. They are succubus, existential, materialistic narcissists. Call them out, leave them behind. Only cowards have to lie. Those friends aren't allowed to access your energy anymore. They are sick. I was obviously very upset here. I think I'm going to highlight this. We'll probably take a lot of that out. These good Christians that believe vaccines and eating meat, cocaine and alcohol, they are weak. You know who I'm talking about. That is true. I never liked that my friends would preach so much about the Bible, yet they didn't follow any health codes in the Bible or anything else. You know, they can sin in various ways because everyone's a sinner. Why bother trying? Why try to be like Christ if we're just going to sin anyway? We're going to fall short in these ways anyway. I don't need to try in that way to be a better parent or friend or whatever. But that's just, you know, what do astrologers know? What do helionostic biblical astrologers know? Proof is in the pudding. Follow your bliss. I paid off my debt in hopes of being approved in my dream apartment in Detroit and moved in a month later. I wanted a gym to work out in, and I'm the only one in the gym at 4 a.m. I have acted on every progressive impulse, not just for success, but to be able to sleep a little more at night. Not sleep well. I don't feel I sleep much at all, yet I function more than anyone I know on less than 4 hours of sleep a night. I've done it all, and now I have to execute on another level. I've got the plane off the ground, but to stay in the air, I have to build something for myself. I want to resolve the Michigan State Assembly as the coordinator to help usher in as the free vessels to claim their life, which I have done now. So I went down the rabbit hole. I was working with postmaster generals in Canada. Officially changed my name, Kristina-Renee:Frost, studied quantum grammar, wrote up scripts to provide in malpractice. So anyway, I went down the rabbit hole in this Admiralty Maritime Law, if we hear any of this. So I'm glad I'm doing a little bit of a explanation video on this this book, if it were ever to be published. So if it makes it to your hands, this book, it's one more thing I put into play, and your mind made happen. It worked. So surviving on Earth takes income. I'm not making shit income anymore. I'm not settling for less than I am worth. Now it's going to take my entrepreneurship training. I really never liked to curse when I'm trying to be professional, but all my favorite professionals curse on YouTube, which I think is crazy. This book means nothing if I don't fulfill what it is my integral soul desires. I want to speak, I want to teach, and I can do that on these social networking apps. It provides the platform I need to reach people and be seen. I feel this is a step to my integration and application of integrity to reach peace, soundness, and impact. That was going to be a good line. I feel this is a step in my integration and application of integrity to reach peace, soundness, and impact. There's no excuse to not try and do everything we can. Fail in whatever way necessary to attain the highest good we can attain. What else would we be doing, as Jordan Peterson says? what else would we be doing? And later on, I actually got a video of him saying that at the Fillmore in Detroit, where I went to see Jordan Peterson. And I have a little clip. You're not allowed to do video there, and I did anyway. And it said, what else would make life valuable? So I thought, what it is that I really want to do. I do want to give people hope, but how? So when I was younger, right before the accident, I have a degree in broadcasting, and I would walk around with a pretend microphone, and I was speaking to masses of people about my studies and why it was important to have hope and change your mind and change your world. And so how do I give people hope? I want the mothers I went to school with who have lost children to know their children are eternal, that our loved ones we think we have lost are not as far as we think, that it pays off to not be a victim, that the hero of your story is the hero of many, that it is worth to save yourself with the integration and execution. With integration and execution. It is worth it to save yourself with integration and execution. I'm going to put the application of integrity, just for funsies. The application of integrity is what I call it. Applying these principles and practicing them. I want to read to others on Twitch and develop my credibility. I want to be a tarot professor live on TikTok and the best at it. I just sent a reading to a friend in Ireland. He said it was so spot on. It's not silly. The proof is in the pudding. Entertainment or synchronicity or both. I read cards, not futures. I'm going to put that there too. I read cards, not futures. I'm not trying to associate anything. I'm not trying to make things up. I like to read the cards. And if it resonates and it demonstrates itself, and you know there's something, someone, ones, angels, God, universe, the gods looking after us, that there's someone aware. There's an awareness. There's a consciousness that's there. And I want to teach and inspire on YouTube with astrology and sovereignty, my teachings of quantum grammar, etc., in the court systems, admiralty, maritime law, etc. at that time. Now I've come and take a step back from all my studies down the rabbit hole, since I had called out my malpractice lawyers and I had actually found some good lawyers. So we'll see what happens there. We're still waiting on trial. I've created a schedule, and I think this is the next step to applying integrity. What would happen if I didn't care what others thought and applied my resources and knowledge I have to share? What would happen? Typo here. What would happen? I have to know, or I won't sleep. I want my children back, and if they wanted me to give me an opportunity to be me, if they wanted to give me an opportunity to be me and free, then I must try, because I was with their father, who was an alcoholic, who I felt like I was living under a rock for 10 years. And I still feel like I'm still getting out of this rock, where I'm seeing things of life I had no idea was there. Or even things as simple as trends or anything like that. But, and if they wanted to give me an opportunity to be free, I need to try, I must try. Because now all I want is my children back. So if I granted this opportunity, I must be granted the opportunity to see my children again. That's my logic. If this book makes it to your hands, then you might just see my children again too. Proof is in the pudding. It comes back around. Why apply the principles of integrity? So this is another chapter. We're going to put chapter 20, which is perfect for chapter 20. It comes back around. That's so interesting. When I think of symbolic numerology and tarot and things like that. Why apply the principles of integrity? It comes back around. Not only has investing in my highest good paid off with a roommate in a new apartment in Detroit with a gym and looking at the General Motors building and the boy becoming a chef, I am now dancing in Detroit at Detroit Dance Loft. Met a new friend on my first day at the last minute who looked like my friend Louise from Mexico, taught me Zumba and salsa. He has long dark hair, a little younger, stronger, says he will show me the dance scene in Detroit and needs a dance partner. Which didn't last too long, but we did end up dancing on a few teams in Detroit. It took so much guts to go to that first class. I know my higher self would have hated me if I didn't. And that is how I close the gap on my dreams. I keep my higher self happy. I had so much fun. I will be investing in dance classes for every day of the week this month. I could have been a victim in my trailer, begging for another low-paying job, going through my savings. I still have a lot of work to do to start making income. I have my creative plan that I'm surely but slowly executing without wasting a second of valuable energy. Here we go, chapter 21. Integrity of Cannabis, Epiphanies. About a month after I returned home from the hospital, my sister and I shared some cannabis. I proceeded to take a shower for the day at my mother's, unbandaging my bandages and bandaging my newly acquired skin grafts on my legs. People say that may never be the same. My legs may never be the same. But of course, I only believe in health and healing. People say I should put my legs instead of they. People say my legs may never be the same. My perception expanded for a moment, realizing the rest of my life would be one of torment and worry that everyone in the world couldn't understand, but could only give sympathy to someone like me now, a mother who had lost her children. I made a decision I would never forget that day, that I would never be someone others had to worry about or feel sorry for. That was not acceptable to me. I was born to be incredible, and so were my children. To what reason would life allow such awful events to take place? Why try to find a reason to chaos? My children, that's why. How could I possibly understand what had happened to us by being a weak person who just wants to cry until I die, literally? I made a decision I would find out why this could happen. And then I have posted here a bunch of my sovereignty, claim of the life, changing my name, things like that. I have some pictures here. Next chapter 22. The departure, the initiation, and the return. It is my goal to read more books. Actually, I hope to get the courage to read live and be able to be a face for books. At least share the books I'm reading and stick to my commitments. One book I did read this summer was Carl Jung's Archetypical Imagery of the Tarot. And in it, the author explains the process of the life journey in 3 parts: the departure, the initiation, and the return. After all the tribulation to get to the point to be free and live life, I still refuse to return. I still refuse the magic flight. But nothing drives success like necessity. And if I didn't go live now and be myself, I would have to struggle and work again to get to this point to try. There is no try. And by that, I needed an income. Here I had a little bit of time, savings from trimming, to try to get my stuff together, create some creative income at least. There is no try. I've been in the gym almost every day for 2 months. Eat my weight in grams of protein per day to build my body back, and I have. I'm proud to say I have one of the best booties in bachata class. Maybe Rose would catch me looking in the mirror all the time. Now, since I started training at Detroit Dance Loft, I'm more obsessed with kizomba, lambada, and zouk style dancing and music. I may bless Uranus retrograde in my 10th house of Taurus for changing what I'm listening to, dance to, and teach. The 10th house in astrology symbolizes career, mission, social status. I want to teach dance one day, but as long as I am dancing and expressing, I am living. Leo rising, Leo Venus really comes out on the dance floor. Lots of Sagittarius is on the dance floor. They do rule the hips and thighs. So if you study any symbology, it's kind of fun. So while trying to dance and build, plan, not execute a business of astrology, trying to dance and build, plan, not execute a business. I'm sleeping on my futon, getting pink eye from who knows what. Aw. I have a beautiful apartment, but maybe being on the dumpster side is causing the fruit flies or the tyrant downstairs. Lucky for me, I adopted a 21-year-old rapper roommate who bought some good eye drops that at least help the look of my eye. I hope I don't spread whatever this is to anyone on the dance floor. I've been dedicated to my disciplines, going to the gym, dance class, dance teams, read 2 birth charts for TikTok in Atlanta that gave me $150 last week, so that helps. I can't imagine why poverty is constantly lurking. I've been set on fire. People go to work and dance. That's just nuts. Now I work. I just don't get paid. I work on myself, my home, my business. Now I'm reading on Twitch to people, my books, to build my credibility and articulation and do whatever the hell Spirit asks. Whatever they ask me to do. I can't imagine, we read that. So I thought Spirit said it was okay to buy these $100 dance shoes. I kept getting signs through YouTube ads about shoes and thought maybe it's the angels telling me it's okay. The dance teachers are partners with this Tiger spin store. Everyone has them at Detroit Dance Loft. I deserve it. I should have $16,000 more in the bank, but my children's father isn't dead and I saved a young kid's life. What does that mean? Oh my goodness, that doesn't sound very nice. Oh, he must have hurt me. I should have $16,000 more in the bank. And I saved this young kid's life. Let's see. I wonder what that is about. Gosh, that sounded so mean. I deleted it. He has $4,000 more than the 0 he had when I adopted him. So I must have earned something from helping others and moving in the direction of my dreams. Gosh, that hurt me that I said that. My children's father, I don't speak to him, but I would never wish him. Oh, maybe it's because I help him so much. I did help him a lot. I tried to put him in a place. And anyway, so I spent a lot of money on these boys. More than $0 when I adopted him. Yeah, so he had David. I'm going to say David now has $4,000 more than the 0 he had when I adopted him, so I must have earned something from helping others and moving in the direction of my dreams. Shit quality all wrong, not denim and tan colorway, wrong laces, wrong color laces. It is because Mad Medicine was written on the box. Oh, I put Mad Medicine Woman on everything. But, and I had to apologize to Mark Brewer, the most awesome dancer, who was the manager at Detroit Dance Loft, because I went off about trying to return these shoes. And I was so embarrassed because $100 was $1 million to me at that time. I mean, it was like, I don't know, is that right? $100 was like $10. $100 went by so fast, it was everything. But, so maybe it wouldn't be $10. $100 to me, it was just a lot of money and hard to come by. Why would the angels do this? Why did I think I deserved to have the same expensive fancy dance shoes like everyone else? I could be a victim. I have to send them back. That cost me another $10 in shipping, handmade from Brazil, luckily shipped from Oregon. Why? So Spirit just wanted me to know that they are shit, write about it, do a quick YouTube review, make myself feel better, which I ended up deleting because I was embarrassed. Why does it make me feel better? These are my dance teachers, spin store affiliates. I don't want them to look bad, but I care more about the truth. I spent so much on my dancing. I hope these skills can pay off. They really must. I've gotten so much better in my dancing. You can see on my Instagram and all that stuff that I'm really proud of myself where my dancing is. Where it's coming to. I'm a big critic. You never get the best videos, but you see where you get lazy. You see where your technique needs to improve. So let's see. Maybe we can finish up this chapter. I also think I was meant to read tarot and birth charts for money. I call for the gods let me dance, the Elohim, spirit, creator. But for them, I must test the crazy deep waters by going live as a crazy woman for money. The only skill I think I friggin' have anymore. I will not go back to put out resumes to the best of my ability to make shit $12 an hour anyway, when I can determine my own income based on the skill of reading the objective symbols on the cards and on birth charts. The objective symbols, I know what they mean, which provide great objective stimuli to a story that may resonate with those watching. Highly likely. Cards don't lie. Put that on there. I read cards, not futures. So my roommate has worked very hard to chef at Texas de Brazil downtown Woodward in Detroit, where they pay him a shit $13 an hour to cook from 12 to 10 p.m. I'm trying hard to teach my sweet Gemini son to show his teeth and tell his pathetic alcoholic, cokehead, drug addict, tyrant boss he needs 18 an hour, as much as a Lenny who sells the boss man cocaine. As much as Lenny makes who sells the boss cocaine, or he's putting in his 2 weeks. He has saved up and bought enough time to manifest another job with discipline. I just signed for a loan from our lawyers for Gary, my children's father, for $2,500 that I'm sure he will blow up his nose and drink quickly. In all fairness, I've never seen Gary do anything. I've never seen him do cocaine. Had plenty of phone calls from his friends looking for him that the white lady was in town, but he never brought it in front of me when I had my children. So I can't say. As for me, I think my savings just took the dip under $3,000, which I wouldn't have if my children didn't suffer, or if I didn't trim cannabis all summer. I think there was a point that being a single mom, it was very hard to find work. It wasn't easy. So I, single with a college degree who's worked for the Carolina Panthers, Drake Software, Arthur Murray Dance Studio, multiple radio stations, still cannot exceed $12 an hour without working at Hooters or having the family been set on fire. I apply all integrity. I have never liked to drink or fiend for any drugs. Of the low-life men and so-called Christians around me participate in, drugs, that the low-life men and so-called Christians around me participated in, that is not okay. My soul wants to give up completely. But because my damn stars and signs to me that there is something to this, I keep going. Because of my damn stars. I don't know even like. Yet my damn stars are signs to me that there's something to this, so I keep going. I absolutely feel like a mad woman, but today, March 18th, 2022, we have beds. Bunk beds. I was waiting for my roommate David to be secure before we spent $600 on our bunk beds, but we did it. And it's such a final crossing point to me. The fall equinox 2020, I ran to Michigan to make money after I left my boyfriend, was so codependent on drugs. Took the $200 he gave me and ran to Detroit. Brought David home to North Carolina, my new roommate. My friend's home he was staying at was not a good place. Her, a lush, cocaine, unrealized victim Pisces. Her sons were moving out of the house, and having known David and being afraid to go home to no job and no company, brought him home to sleep on my couch. The futon wasn't comfortable enough in the spare room. Got us jobs at Hungry Howie's in Hickory, based out of Madison Heights, Michigan, where David lived, crazy, prior. lost our jobs for speaking up, ran to Michigan to make money trimming cannabis again. David walks out of the trim job, had to kick him out. Take him back to try to get him a job to set him up in Michigan. Can't take him to North Carolina. Can't support us both. David gets great job. I tell my friends to screw off for lying to me about work and asking me not to buy cannabis. The reason I'm in Michigan to make money to afford medical cannabis for PTSD and skin grafts. What the holy crap. I hate these women now. They are dead to me. Ouch. After protesting in Detroit all summer, I realize I lose my power if I leave Detroit. Apply for an apartment together. Red flags, pay off debts, hoping to be approved. We said the angels were real if we got approved. Approved for apartment. Pack up home in North Carolina. Have to get rid of furniture that was donated to me because of mold, no beds, couch, doesn't fit in the apartment elevator, etc. So we didn't have much moving into this. You can see it on my TikTok. There's a video of me moving into the apartment and there's nothing in it. I'm sleeping on a futon and David, now a much bigger kid than a year ago, sleeping on a new air mattress. I can't sleep next to this kid. To the season, a year after leaving North Carolina to come to Detroit, not knowing I would move here, dancing with Detroit Dance Loft on Cinco de Mayo that summer, and then opening up the Detroit Dance Loft in October. The day I signed my lease to move into my apartment, now we have beds. I spent all my money helping others and guiding myself into the direction I face with discipline and into the direction I face with discipline. And I think I finally lay my head down and get back to working for myself. Except I have to return these shoes. Well, there are worse things, right? I have to speak to myself. And I have the dialogue and flow of consciousness to repeat my gratitude and possibility for the future. If I execute this plan, it has to work. And by writing it and hopefully knowing what I am talking about, I will bring it to fruition, just like this book will come to fruition and serve a greater purpose. I pray to the gods. And then I have a ticket here that I purchased. It says Beyond Order, and it's a ticket for Jordan Peterson's Beyond Order tour at the Fillmore. So that's where I'm going to start my next chapter here. I'm going to call it chapter 23, Beyond Order. And I'll start there next time. So I'm super proud of myself that we're making progress on editing our book, trying to make it make sense. You can tell me if it makes any sense to you, if you get lost, where we're at. If you have any questions, something to clarify, I could really use the feedback, as I do everything on my own. I'm lucky to seek guidance with dance, something that I love. But other than that, guys, I would really love your feedback on everything else. Birth charts, cards, Bible, and all. So anyway, you have to really study to understand the symbology of the Bible and how that correlates with astrology. So, and have to study astrology to know how it correlates with the Bible. So anyway, it's what's helped me looking for signs. It's gotten me this far. This is part of my discipline, making sense, and my children. Everything else I've created and wanted, I've put into fruition. So even performing now and being on a dance team and elevating my skills, buying a home on the water, which I always said I would. You know, even though I was denied in Detroit for an apartment on the water with a city well where I wanted to put a boat one day, the gods had bigger plans. And I say the gods, I mean God, I mean spirit. I mean, there's a hierarchy of order. And so it works. Pay attention to your mind. Write it down, check it off. And we're going to see what happens so far in the book, and we'll continue to see how all these things played out the last 4 years and how this discipline is going to play out in the future. Thank you so much for your support. Kristina Frost vs. General Motors for Shauna and Tristan, my babies. I love you so much. And hopefully we can sleep tonight. And now I can go to dinner with a little less guilt.